They polish that badge till it look like gold, but every bright shine hides a story untold. They told me stand still, let the law decide. I looked at their hands and saw what they had. Top bends where poor man's trouble never seems to end. Mama said, keep your head down low. The ones with power decide where you go. The judge wore silk, the courtroom smiled. A hungry man's freedom was measured in miles. They called me a criminal, called me a threat for a debt I couldn't pay, in a name they won't forget. Funny how the truth gets hard to say when money can't purchase a cleaner way. They tell us justice is blind by design, but somehow she sees every dollar in line. The law wears a dirty badge, but tells me I should keep my hands clean. They build their walls with broken backs, then call the cracks a victory. The law wears a dirty badge, shining underneath the courthouse light. If justice sleeps behind a golden door, tell me who owns the key tonight. I saw a sheriff shake a rich man's hand while a poor boy waited behind cold bars. One man bought drinks for the whole damn town, the other couldn't buy his freedom off the ground. They preach about order, they preach about grace, then erase a man's future with a stamp on a page. They say every sinner gets the same road home, but some sinners ride while the poor walk alone. I ain't saying I'm clean, I won't ask for praise. I've carried my darkness through too many days, but don't dress corruption in a suit called law, then punish every man who dares to question the flaw. You call it a system, I call it a game, where rules change shape when they mention a name. A code gets darker when the money gets deep, a promise gets holy when the cameras all speak. You want my confession, you want my regret, you want every mistake that I ever committed. But who keeps the legend for the hands up high? Who counts all the bodies when the numbers look right? They say respect the badge, so I respect what it means, but a symbol ain't sacred just because it can't gleam. If the badge stands for justice, let it stand straight. Don't hide dirty fingers behind the courthouse gate. They tell us justice won't bend for a fee, then send me a bill for the right to be free. The law wears a dirty badge, but tells me I should keep my hands clean. They build their walls with broken backs, then call the cracks a victory. The law wears a dirty badge, shining underneath the courthouse light. If justice sleeps behind a golden door, tell me who owns the key tonight. If the law is a river, why does money on the shore? If truth is a hammer, why does silence by the door? I don't need a clean name, I don't need a golden crown. Just don't call it justice when you only let the poor fall down. A dirty badge, and I can see the rust beneath the shine. You can lock a man behind a wall of steel, but you can't arrest the truth inside his mind. The law wears a dirty badge, but someday beneath the ground, but you can't bury what it does to you. Maybe someday that badge will shine, not because the metal's clean, but because the hands that wear it finally understand what justice means. The rich man bought the sunset, then charged us for the view. He bought the land beneath our feet and called it something new. There used to be a road beside the river where old men sat and watched the water. There used to be a field behind the church where children ran until the daylight burned. Then black cars came from out of town with papers that could tear a whole place down. They said we're bringing jobs, we're bringing change. Funny how progress always knows somebody's name. He bought the house, he bought the store, then bought the ground beneath the courthouse floor. They told us nothing here will ever change, then sold our memories and renamed the place. The rich man bought the sunset, the river and the road. He bought the town we grew up in, then told us where to go. Sunset put a price upon the sky. They called it progress when we lived, and development when we cried. My neighbor sold his farm last spring, said he couldn't fight $1 million thing. His father built that house by hand. Now strangers call it premium land. The mayor stood beneath the brand new sign, smiling for the cameras, calling it a better time. He said the future finally made it here. Nobody asked why the old folks disappeared. They built the wall beside the riverbank, then charged admission to the water we drank. They put a gate where the old road stood, then told us private property was good. They don't steal with masks anymore, they bring contracts through the front door. They don't need guns when the papers are signed. They can take your whole world 1 acre at a time. They call it investment, they call it growth, they call it opportunity. Then take what you own. A poor man's land becomes somebody's dream. A family's history becomes a luxury scene. They tell us to be proud when the skyline grows, but never ask where the displaced people go. He bought the river, he bought the road, he bought the silence of everyone he owed. The rich man bought the sunset, the river and the road. He bought the town we grew up in, then told us where to go. The rich man bought the sunset, put a price upon the sky. They called it progress when we left, and development when we cried. You can own the buildings, you can own the ground, You can buy the newspaper and control what goes around, but you can't buy the memories of those who lived before. And you can't buy a sunset that was never yours. But the sky still isn't his. He can build 1,000 fences, but he can't erase what this place is. The rich man bought the sunset and painted every wall, but when the night comes down, the shadows remember all. He bought the town, he bought the land, he bought the future with another man's past. Bible on the dashboard, sin in the trunk. He talks about salvation, but he knows what he's done. There's a Bible by the steering wheel, pages worn from years of use. He bows his head before he drives, then takes another road he shouldn't choose. He shakes hands outside the church. Everybody calls him a good man. Nobody knows what's underneath the old black cover in the back. He talks about forgiveness, he talks about the Lord. Funny how a man can quote the Bible while hiding what he can't afford. Bible on the dashboard, sin in the trunk, clean words on his lips, dirty secrets underneath. Bible on the dashboard, heaven on his mind, but every mile he drives tonight leaves another truth behind. He tells the town to live with honor, says a man's word is all he's got, then signs another crooked contract and takes another piece of what they're not. He gives money to the church, gets his picture in the paper. The preacher calls him generous, nobody asks about the labor. I don't judge a man for having sins, I've got enough of mine to carry. I judge the man who hides behind virtue just to make his lies look holy. Bible on the dash, darkness in the back. Everybody sees the cover, nobody checks the facts. He quotes a verse, then breaks a promise, talks about mercy, then forgets the people beneath him. They say faith is what you do when nobody's watching. Funny how some men only need faith when cameras are watching. A poor man walks into church, they see every scar. A rich man walks through the same door, they only see who he is. That's the trick of reputation, make the outside clean, and people stop asking what the inside means. Maybe the Bible isn't the problem, maybe it's the hands that turn the page. A holy word can't make a man honest if he chooses lies rise every day. Bible on the dashboard, sin in the trunk, clean words on his lips, dirty secrets underneath. Bible on the dashboard, heaven on his mind, but every mile it drives tonight leaves another truth behind. I don't need a perfect man, I don't need a spotless name. Just don't preach about forgiveness while refusing to face your shame. You can hide behind a sermon, you can hide behind a prayer, but when the road gets dark, the truth is still right in there. Sin in the trunk, sin in the trunk. He can drive beneath the church lights, but the past is never gone. Bible on the dashboard, Bible on the dash, and a heart he can't disguise. A man can fool an entire town, but he can't fool his own eyes. Keep the Bible on the dashboard, keep the secrets where you want, but every road eventually leads back to what you've done, 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 They want my labor, not my name. They know my number, but don't know my pain. Clock in before the sunrise, wear the same boots every day. They know exactly what I produce, but never ask what the work takes away. The manager calls me good employee when the numbers look right on the page, but when my mother needed help at home, suddenly I was just another name. They know my hours, they know my rate, they know how much my hands can make. They want my labor, not my name, my hands, my back, but not my pain. They want my loyalty when profits rise, then call me replaceable when the numbers decline. They want my labor, not my name. They want the work, but not the man. They say we're family when they need us, then cut the family from the plan. Yeah. From the plan. I watched a worker get 30 years and lose his job through one email. No handshake, no goodbye, just a message saying business had changed. He trained the men who took his place and walked outside with an empty box. The company posted people first while changing the locks. I don't need a golden office, I don't need a corner room. I just want the hours I give away to mean something when I come home. They want my labor, not my story. Want my output, not my worry. Want my all the time, want my youth. Want my silence when they bend the truth. They call me family when the deadline's tight. Call me a number when they cut at night. They praise commitment when I can't say no. Then replace a lifetime with a line in a spreadsheet. A worker is a machinery. A worker has a name. You can't take someone's best years and call the damage change. I gave them my time, I gave them my strength. Don't tell me I'm replaceable after taking my best years. They want my labor, not my name. My hands, my back, but not my pain. They want my loyalty when profits rise, then call me replaceable when the numbers decline. They want my labor, not my name. They want the work, but not the man. They say we're family when they need us, then cut the family from the plan. I don't need your praise, I don't need your throne. Pay me fairly for my labor, then let me take my dignity home. If my hands built your future, remember whose hands they were. A paycheck closes every Friday, but a life can't be replaced. But you can't replace my history. They knew my number, they knew my hours, they never knew my name. We were the outlaws, now they call us law. We broke their gates to build our own walls. Carried names they tried to erase. We fought against the men with badges who ruled by fear and called it peace. We swore we'd never become them, we swore we'd never wear the crown. We promised every broken worker that we'd tear their old system down. Then power found our hands, and the room became our throne. The people who once feared the law started fearing us instead. When the outlaws become the law, who watches what they do? When the rebels hold the keys, do they remember why they fought? When the outlaws become the law, the crown can change a man, with your hands. We changed the names above the courthouse, changed the flags above the gate. The people cheered our victory, then waited for their lives to change. We promised justice for the poor, promised every voice would count. But power speaks a different language when the money starts to come around. The same men we once condemned now offered us their seats. We said we'd never take the places, then discovered how comfortable power feels. We fought the king, then took his chair, burned the old rules, then wrote our own there. We said the system was corrupt, then found out power pays enough. The people gave us their trust, we gave them speeches, then gave ourselves more. Same courthouse, different names, same hunger, different game. That's the oldest trick change. Who's standing at the door, then convince the people they don't need to ask anymore. We called ourselves freedom, we called ourselves justice. But if the people still fear us, what's really changed? A revolution isn't finished when the old ruler falls. It's finished when the people don't need to fear the new one. When the outlaws become the law, who watches what they do? When the rebels hold the keys, do they remember why they fought? When the outlaws become the law, the crown can change a man. You can destroy the old prison, then build another with your hands. I don't want the crown if it makes me deaf. I don't want the power if it costs me respect. If I once fought for freedom, I must defend it when I win. Otherwise, the man I hated is the man I've become within. Become the law, let the people hold the keys. Let the ones who wear the crown remember who they promised to serve. When the outlaws become the law, let power face the light. Because a rebel isn't righteous just because he wins the fight. Remember why we fought, remember who we serve. Remember every broken door, remember every word, remember every word. When the outlaws become the law, the story doesn't end. The hardest fight begins when power calls you friend. When the outlaws become the law, don't become what you opposed. If freedom needs another master, then freedom has already lost. We broke their chains, we took their crown. Now we have one question: will we wear it or put it down? Gold in their pockets, dust in their hearts. They bought everything they wanted, still couldn't buy back what they lost. stylish boots, talking about money, talking about roots. They bought the ranch where my father worked, then paved the ground where his old house stood. They shook my hand like we were brothers, said nothing personal, it's just business. Funny how a man can purchase your history and still expect you to call him generous. They count their gold every night, but never count the people left behind. A pocket can be heavy as stone, while a man's heart turns lighter than dust. Gold in their pockets, dust in their hearts. They own the road beneath our feet, but they don't know where they are. Gold in their pockets, diamonds in their hands. They can buy the whole damn world, but they can't buy back a soul that's gone. I knew a man who sold his mother's farm, said he'd make his family rich and strong. He bought a house 3 states away, then stopped dancing when she called his name. He had a car worth more than a home, a table full of people and still ate alone. He said success is knowing what to keep. I wonder what he lost while counting sheep. They call it winning when the numbers rise, even when another family pays the price. Maybe the richest man in town is the one who still has someone when the money's gone. Yeah. Gold in the pocket, dust in the chest. Everybody wants more, nobody wants less. They measure a man by the size of his land, by the watch on his wrist, by the ring on his hand. But I seen rich men who couldn't sleep at night. I've seen poor men who still knew wrong from right. They buy another building, they buy another name, they buy another headline to make the past look clean. Money can buy silence, money can buy a throne, but when the room gets empty, you still gotta live alone. They can own the sunset, they can own the sky, but when the final road comes, gold won't tell them why. Gold in their pockets, dust in their hearts. They own the road beneath our feet, but they don't know where they are. Gold in their pockets, diamonds in their hands. They can buy the whole damn world, but they can't buy back a soul that's gone, 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 gone. I don't need their fortune, I don't need their name. I'd rather have an empty pocket than a heart that feels the same. Let them count their money, let them build their walls. A man who owns everything can still have nothing at all. They bought the town and called it progress, but never learned what love was worth. Gold in their pockets, dust beneath their feet. When the money disappears, only what you gave remains. Keep your gold, keep your throne. When the dust settles, you still answer for your own. on paper. Everybody called it business while somebody else paid later. He stood beneath the conference lights, talking numbers like they were truth. He promised jobs, promised growth, promised everyone would benefit. The papers looked official, the signatures looked clean. Nobody asked what happened to the people in between. A lie sounds different when millions call it fact. Put enough money behind it and people stop looking back. It was $1 million lie, wrapped in numbers and suits. They called it an investment while they buried the truth. It was $1 million lie. Everybody played along. The money made it look legitimate, but the damage made it wrong. A factory promised expansion and closed the doors instead. A family trusted every word, then lost the roof above their heads. The company called it unfortunate, the shareholders called it smart. Nobody mentioned the workers who had given them the best years of their lives. The man behind the deal still shook hands around the town. He gave a speech about the future while the people counted what they lost. $1 million lie don't sound like a lie, it sounds like strategy when the number the right. Put it in a contract, put it on the news, give it to a lawyer, let the public choose. Call it market pressure, call it necessary change, call the people collateral and pretend that's just a game. A poor man lies, they call him a criminal. A rich man lies, they call him visionary. One loses his freedom, one buys another company. Same deception, different consequences. You don't need to steal when you redefine the rules. You don't need a mask when money makes the lie look true. I don't care how polished the numbers look tonight. If people were destroyed to make the profit right, then somebody needs to name. It was $1 million lie, wrapped in numbers and suits. They called it an investment while they buried the truth. It was $1 million lie. Everybody played along. The money made it look legitimate, but the damage made it wrong. Maybe the biggest lies don't need to be spoken. They live inside documents until the damage is already done. You can buy a better lawyer, you can buy a cleaner name, but you can't change the people who remember what you took away. Can become a fortune when enough people call it business, but a fortune built on lies still has to answer for the damage. drank to forget what they did, but the bottle never forgets. Every glass takes the edge away, never takes away the dead. There's a man sitting alone at the bar, staring down at a glass in his hand. He won't talk about the house he broke or the people who no longer understand. He says tomorrow he'll make things right, but tomorrow has heard that before. Another drink becomes another night, another promise disappears through the door. You can drown a memory, you can silence your mind, but guilt knows how to swim, and it always comes back alive. They drank to forget what they did, but the bottle knows their names. They drank until the room gets quiet, but the past still speaks the same. They drank to forget what they did, trying to wash away the blame. You can bury truth beneath the whiskey, but you can't make it disappear. I knew a man who cheated his friend and drank every night for years. He said the whiskey helped him sleep, but he woke up with the same old fear. Another man betrayed his brother, sold the land and kept the gold. Every Sunday he stood in church, every Monday drinking till he was cold. I don't judge a man for breaking down. I've had nights I can't defend, but there's a difference between regret and using regret to avoid the truth. They drank for the guilt, they drank for the shame, they drank so they don't have to say another person's name. They call it stress, they call it pain. Sometimes it's just a man trying to escape what he became. They raise a glass, they raise a prayer, then wake up and pretend the damage isn't there. You can hide behind a bottle, you can hide behind the night. You can tell yourself that everything will eventually be alright, but a debt ain't gone because you stopped counting. A wound ain't healed because you stopped looking. The bottle is in the courtroom, it can't declare you free. It only gives you darkness long enough to avoid what you see. They drank to forget what they did, but the bottle knows their names. They drank until the room gets quiet, but the past still speaks the same. They drank to forget what they did, trying to wash away the blame. You can bury truth beneath the whiskey, but you can't make it disappear. Maybe the first step is remembering. Maybe the truth has to hurt. Maybe you can't repair a broken life until you admit what you destroyed. I don't need another bottle, I don't need another excuse. If I broke something with my choices, then I have to face the truth. forget what they did, but tonight the glass stays down. Let the silence tell the story. They were too afraid to speak out loud. They drink to forget what they did, but I won't run from that. Some wounds can only start to heal when you stop hiding from the light. The bottom never forgave me, it only helped me forget. And everything I tried to bury was waiting when I woke. Backroads don't ask questions, they just carry you away. They don't care what you've done, they don't care what people say. I left town with the headlights low, didn't tell nobody where I'd go. One old truck, half a tank, and a name that nobody wanted to thank. The courthouse knew my history, the church knew what they thought of me. Every mouth had something left to say, so I found a road that looked the other way. The highway doesn't need my confession, the dirt don't care about my reputation. Funny how strangers know my sins, but never ask what made me this way. Backroads don't ask questions, they just let the engine run. Backroads don't judge a broken man, they don't ask what he has done. Backroads don't ask questions, they don't care where I've been. Out here the night keeps quiet, and the road lets me begin again. I passed a town where the church bells rang, saw men in suits talking about change. They preached forgiveness from polished chairs and judged every stranger who wasn't theirs. A banker told me work hard and you'll rise. Funny how he never mentioned the size of the ladder he bought with somebody's land, or the hands he stepped on to become that man. I don't need saints to understand, I've seen enough behind the clean white hands. Maybe I'm guilty, maybe I'm scarred, but a man's whole story ain't written on his worst day. They want a simple story, a villain they can name. They don't want the reasons, they just want someone to blame. They say the past is history until they need it for a trial, and suddenly every mistake becomes a permanent file. A rich man gets a second chance, a poor man gets a number. One gets a lawyer at his side, one gets another locked door. So I keep moving through the darkness where nobody owns my name. The road don't call me innocent, it just refuses to call me shame. Maybe freedom ain't forgiveness, maybe freedom is the choice to leave the place that judged your soul and finally hear your own voice. Backroads don't ask questions, the tires on the gravel, and the night getting colder. I can't change yesterday, I won't pretend I can, but every mile ahead of me still belongs to this man. And tonight, that's all I need. No one owns the road beneath me. No one tells me who to be. Let the town keep my old name, let the courthouse keep its file. The back road never asked for either, it just carried me another mile. Hell is better manners than men. At least the devil tells you why. A handshake can hide a loaded promise, while a clean smile hides the lie. Met a man in a tailor coat, shook my hand and promised hope. He said, trust me, we're family here, then disappeared when the money got near. He spoke so softly, dressed so clean, said everything wasn't what it seemed. Funny how the worst betrayal can arrive wearing the face of a friend. The devil never promised mercy, he never called himself my friend. But men will swear they're standing with you, then sell you when the numbers make sense. Hell has better manners than men. The devil at least knows what he wants. Men will smile while they betray you, then tell you that they did it for your own. Hell has better manners than men. At least the fire doesn't pretend. I'd rather face an honest enemy than trust a liar calling himself a friend. My brother promised he would stay, then sold the house and walked away. He said nothing personal, it's business. Funny how blood becomes a business word. The preacher talked about forgiveness, the banker talked about success. Both had something they wanted from me, both called the taking generosity. I don't believe every man is cruel. I've known good people in bad times, but I've learned that polished manners don't tell you what's behind the eyes. They shake your hand and take your ground. They call you brother, then sell you out. They talk about honor, they talk about trust and choose the money. When the pressure comes, the devil gets blamed for everything wrong. Maybe mankind has been helping along. A man can hurt you without raising his voice. He can destroy your life, they call it a choice. They don't need horns, they don't need flames. Sometimes evil just knows your name. I stopped fearing monsters a long time ago. I fear the man who knows my weakness and still decides to use it. Hell has better manners than men. The devil at least knows what he wants. Men will smile while they betray you, then tell you that they did it for your own. Hell has better manners than men. At least the fire doesn't pretend. I'd rather face an honest enemy than trust a liar, calling himself a friend. Don't tell me you're righteous because you wear clean clothes. Don't tell me you're honest because nobody knows. Character isn't what you show when everybody's watching. Character's what remains when there's something worth taking. Himself your brother that you should watch sometimes. I don't fear the devil anymore. I've met worse in daylight. Blood on a back road, and nobody asked whose. The night keeps its secrets, like the rich keep their truth. That town before the sunrise came, with a worn-out truck and a borrowed name. Two headlights cutting through the dust, one road behind me, one thing left to trust. My brother said run, don't turn around, but every secret leaves a mark on the ground. They called it justice when they took his home. Funny how justice always leaves the poor alone. I learned that loyalty comes with a price, and some men sell their brothers for a cleaner life. They shake your hand while they sharpen the knife, then call themselves honest when they steal your life. There's blood on the back road, red beneath the moon. Every dead comes calling, and it always comes too soon. There's blood on the back road, time marks in the rain. You can bury what you did, but you can't outrun the name. black sky hanging over borrowed time. The sheriff knew more than he ever said, while a rich man's lawyer was counting his bread. I ain't saying I'm innocent, that's not my claim. I've carried my sins and I've carried my name. But the man who ordered it never saw a cell. He paid for his freedom and called it a deal. They say the law makes every man the same, but money can buy you a different kind of chain. One man gets buried beneath concrete and stone. Another walks free because his money talks on the phone. Backroad dust on a pair of old boots. Truth gets buried underneath tailor suits. They want my silence, they want my fear, but the louder they threaten, the clearer I hear. Everybody's brave when the weak can't fight. Everybody's righteous under courthouse lights. They call me outlaw because I refuse to kneel. But tell me what makes a clean man steal? Maybe the badge ain't dirty by the way that it shines. Maybe it's dirty from the hands behind the lines. Maybe the devil don't live down below. Maybe he owns half the town and runs the show. I don't need forgiveness from men like them. I've seen what happens when you trust their pen. If justice is honest, let it walk this road. Let it carry the weight of every secret we know. There's blood on the back road, red beneath the moon. Every day comes calling, and it always comes too soon. There's blood on the back road, time marks in the rain. You can bury what you did, but you can't outrun the name. My brother's gone, my town moved on. The courthouse stands like nothing went wrong. But every midnight, when the cold wind blows, the back road remembers what the town wanna know. Still knows every lie leaves a shadow, every shadow shows. There's blood on the back road, and I'm still riding through. I can't change what happened, but I can tell the truth. There's blood on the back road, let the whole town hear. Some men run from justice, some men bite out of fear. The road never judged me, it only showed what I was, and every mile behind me still remembers because bar knows who lied first. The bottles know who stayed. One man swore he told the truth, the other watched him turn away. Two old names carved into the wood. You said you never sell me out. I believed you like a brother should. Then the money changed the conversation. Your story had changed before the night was done. You said I never made that promise. I looked at you and knew exactly what you'd done. The bartender kept pouring, never asked which side was right. He'd seen enough broken promises to know the truth comes late at night. The bar knows who lied first. The walls have heard it all. Who shook my hand in daylight, then pushed me when I fell. The bar knows who lied first. The bottles know the truth. You can change the story tomorrow, but tonight the room remembers you. You told the 10 I walked away, said I was the one who broke the deal. You left out the part where you took everything, then asked me how betrayal felt. The bartender looked down at his glass like he'd heard this story every night. He didn't defend me, didn't defend you. He just knew somebody wasn't telling it right. I ain't saying my hands are clean. I've said things I wish I could take back, but there's a difference between a mistake and building a lie until it becomes fact. You lied first and lied again, changed the names, changed the frames. You made betrayal sound like business, made a broken promise sound like forgiveness. You wanted the town to hear your side, so you painted me guilty before I could reply. That's how a lie survives. Give it enough clean clothes, put it in the right room, and everybody thinks it knows. A man's reputation can be bought with a story. Truth doesn't always arrive before the damage gets blurry. I don't need revenge, I don't need your shame. The people who were there that night already know my name. The bar knows who lied first. The walls have heard pushed me when I fell. The bar knows who lied first. The bottles know the truth. You can change the story tomorrow, but tonight the room remembers you. Maybe friendship wasn't what I thought. Maybe trust was just a word. Maybe some men stay beside you only while the deal still works. I won't chase you through this town. I won't beg you to confess. Some truths don't need a courtroom. When the silence says enough. Keep what little truth is left. Pour one for the promise, pour one for the friend. Some lies start a war, some lies quietly end.